going back to the first 4 leaves of this album, but which we haven't paid that much attention to. So I wanted to kind of give brief introduction or brief description of this painting to you. This is 23-leaf album painting by Yoon, who was the core painter, very active in late 19th century. And he painted these subjects in nature, 4 gentlemen, orchids, chrysanthemum, a plum tree, and a bamboo, during his visit to the United States with Min Young-ik, who was a Joseon Dynasty officer at that time. So this is very interesting and gives more meaning that we have such a painting, which was actually painted in the United States, and we are able to display this painting in our Korean gallery. So this could be a classic example of Korean ink paintings where students can learn rudiments of Korean traditional ink painting styles. We are having the exhibition downstairs, the Shanghai Art and Culture. So I wanted to make the connection between what's in our Korean gallery and downstairs. So that example was painted in 1883, and these paintings are examples of early 20th century. So it's traditional ink painting subjects, bamboo and orchid and rocks, but painted in early 20th century. This is by An Jung-sik, and that's by Jo Seok-jin. Those 2 painters were last generation of core painters, very active in late 19th century and early 20th century. And they were asked to taught at the first non-governmental art institution, which was established with support of Yi royal family, even after the end of Joseon Dynasty. So they were the leading figures in continuing the Korean traditional ink painting styles, but also they stepped forward to teach students in a non-governmental institution, not as a core, painter institution. So, and this person is very excelled in landscape painting, and in other examples, he used a one-point perspective for his painting, landscape painting, which is very different from traditional ink painting styles, right? So that also suggests that he must have gotten some influences of Western painting style, which unfortunately we cannot see in this example. And also, this person, Jo Seok-jin, he lost his parents as he was very young. So he learned all his painting styles under the guidance of his grandfather, who was also a core painter. So both of grandfather and grandson was excelled in depicting the shellfish and fish subjects. Motifs. So it's something that's interesting to know. And you give a look through. And has not been on display at all, actually. But this is not until 18th century, this type of very casual riverside scene was a subject matter of this traditional ink painting. And this was actually part of the either 8-panel or 10-panel folding screen, but it was remounted as a hanging scroll. And you don't find any painter's either signature or the seal, actually, right? That suggests that it must have been the central panel of the whole folding screen. And this is done in the style of Kim Deok-shin or Kim Hong-do, who are the leading core painters of depicting such genre scenes. And you'll see it has a sense of humor, actually. The fishermen are working and preparing the food, right, on one side. And the other side, under the tree, you see the ease of gentlemen just enjoying their summer casual time. Sophisticated eye that this painting was originally part of a folding screen, but can be remounted as a hanging scroll, right? But the Tang longevity symbol screen, this must be viewed as a whole rather than the individual piece. So this is the painting belongs to a Tang longevity symbol. And you see there are 10 forms in nature associated with longevity. You see the sun, clouds, mountain or rocks, water, tortoises, deer, the mushroom of long life, bamboo, and peaches. Did I get all 10 symbols? The yes, the cranes. So all these symbols in nature attributes to the symbols of longevity. Was popularly painted by court painters for use during New Year celebrations and also as gifts to ministers on their 60th birthdays. Depiction of a pine tree in such longevity, 10 symbol longevity screens, but here we have peaches instead of pine tree. In most 19th century paintings, we usually see a pine tree and a peach tree together in a lively arrangement, but this very rare 10 longevity symbol, such as this one, has a peach tree as a substitution. Drawing the sketches first, and then put the another layers of paper and do another painting, and it traces the sketches and then do the painting work. And the symbols of longevity, I'd like to take a look at this wedding robe. The red exterior and the blue lining symbolize the East Asian cosmology, the opposites of East Asian cosmology, of feminine and masculine, heaven and earth, and dark and light. And if you see closely, we have phoenixes and a pair of boars, and the king of flowers, the peony, right? So when the king of birds is paired with the king of flowers, it brings the three abundances, like long life, blessings, and many sons. So this would have been whereby the brides of the gentry or the princess at the court. But Han Sang-soo, who's the artist of this wedding robe, who hand-stitched each motifs, she got inspired from the style of gentry, the wedding robes, the style of gentry for the wedding robes. So this has all the auspicious meanings, like you see the peaches, and this is actually the back of the wedding robe. So if you go around and you see another motifs of pomegranates, peaches also symbolizes the many sons and blessings between husband and wife. And Han Sang-soo, she's also known as the intangible human cultural asset today.
Did you say king of flower and
king of flower, the peony, lotus, peony, and the king of birds, the phoenixes.
Oh, birds.
Yes.
Are the little loops on the other side, is that the belt? Or what is it?
Let me go. You mean the little strips? Yeah, it seems like something that you tie. Yes. The colors of red, blue, and yellow, white, it also symbolizes the directional energy, which is called oheng in Korean. So for example, blue would symbolize spring. Spring, yeah, that's one of the seasons, 4 seasons.
How about the 4 directions?
The black is missing, actually, the color black, to fully explain all the colors. Of the photographs of Joseon Dynasty, which was taken as a Japanese survey project on Korean landscape, architecture, folk costumes, and all stuff. It was taken by Japanese photographer between 1909 and 1945. And these contact prints were made from the actual gelatin dry plates, specially made for us by the National Museum of Korea. So some of the buildings were taken down during wars. So now having the photographs is it's meaningful. It became the historical documentation of the early 20th century. New, different, exciting example of contemporary mixed medium painting by artist named So Hyun-bae, and she studied various religious philosophies for her master's degree at Harvard. So she brings together the ideas from Jewish mysticism with visual motifs, and also her personal remembrance as a child back in Korea. So she would remember the egg woman with an enormous basket of eggs coming to her home and trying to balance that basket, and also wearing this Korean traditional dress called hanbok. So to the artist, this egg woman seems to symbolize the plight of a woman on their walks through life, trying to manage all the burdens of life. It's a very interesting work. With the use of the Korean rice paper, which is known for the toughness and durability. So she used that as part of her medium. And she depicted this Korean woman in very multiple images, as if this figure is broken into shards. So the idea of wrapping comes from this wrapping cloth that I show in 4 examples of work. So wrapping cloth would be made from all different sources, like remnants from different types of cloth. For example, the one on the far, the colorful silk wrapping cloth, that has a knot in the center. That suggests that would be used to cover the tables, to cover something. But the wrapping cloth with the long strips at each corner suggests that it must be used to enclose something larger objects, like bed linens or clothing. But this type of rami is very popular for summer use. So we've been shown a lot of silk wrapping cloth before in that small section, but having that bujagi over there was something like the wrapping cloth almost become a craft work. But displaying this wrapping cloth here, it almost like they turns them into art itself. So it's almost like a painting. It gives more sense of modern. The chest of cabinets over there, the red, that's also done in the same technique, the inlaid mother of pearl. Of 2010, the Year of Tiger, the Mountain Spirit is the painting that you'll first see as you walk into the Korean gallery. Here, the mountain spirit is depicted as an old man with an exaggerated forehead, and this reminds us of the Taoist god of longevity. Let's take a closer look at the tiger that this old man is stroking its back with his right hand. The tiger is whimsically portrayed with red eye and big round yellow eyeballs. It looks almost friendly and approachable. And this type of style attributes often seen in Korean folk paintings of this animal. However, it also represents the vitality of the mountain spirits. Koreans have venerated tigers and mountains from earliest times. In the Korean foundation myth, the celestial prince Hwanung came down from heaven to earth to establish a sacred city on a mountain top. So mountains are the places where the God came down from heaven and to communicate with humans. Even today, you can find this type of mountain spirit painting in a Korean Buddhist monasteries in Korea, which it suggests that Buddhist inclusion or even tolerance of native beliefs or local beliefs.
You're volunteering to come forward and do this rotation for us. As I said to you after you did that, this gallery is so important to the docents because all the nature and art people use it for 4 different tours every single week, and then the Korean tours. And we depend so much on the rotated objects for our tours. So it's really nice. For the rest of the docents, I'd just like to give a little bit of background about Yoon. She comes to us from having done her undergraduate work at UC San Diego, where she also did some intern work in museums and also in Los Angeles. She came here and has been doing the rotations for us the last couple of times. And in particular, an important project that she did was her translation of the entire audio tour for the museum into Korean so that our Korean patrons can appreciate the masterpiece works as well. That translation relies nicely on her language skills, which are impressive.
Thank you.
Not only does she have native Korean and, of course, very good English, but she also reads Chinese and French. So we're very lucky to have you with us, and thanks so much for your generous
Thank you, Jane.
contribution today.
Thank you, Jane, for inviting me.